good morning to you all and welcome to Deepwater Baptist Church Online. Over the past few weeks, life has changed very quickly and very rapidly. It's been amazing just how quickly things have changed in such a short space of time. A few weeks ago, London was a buzzing metropolis, but now most of the office buildings are empty, as are most of the roads in London. Even here in Hayes, things have got very much quieter. The usual morning rush of commuters to the train station has now been replaced by a few early morning joggers out for their daily exercise. And the only place that's really seen any sort of busyness is the queue outside Iceland in the morning, waiting for it to open. Even there, people are spaced along the pavement, obeying their social distancing rules. For all of us, in any sector, life has become very different over the past few weeks. Life now is different to how it was a few weeks ago, as we've all learnt different ways of working. Even in the church, we're doing things in a different way. We're doing more things online, and we're still praying for you all, but that's no longer taking place in our church buildings. We're gathering together instead online over things like Skype and Zoom and Facebook, things like that. So we are still praying for you, but we are meeting together online. In one part of London, things changed very rapidly this week and very quickly. It was amazing just how quickly the Excel Centre was turned into London's newest hospital, the Nightingale Hospital. It's just another piece of evidence as to how quickly things can happen when people work together. An amazing feat, and amazing how quickly that was changed and transformed. Over the past few weeks, life has changed so much for so many of us, in so many ways. It's been a real rollercoaster ride, I guess, for most of us. There's been ups and there's been downs in this, as we've all got used to a different way of life. Everything we thought we knew has now been turned on its head. Our values, in some ways, have been turned upside down. And I reflect on that and I think that must have been a little bit like how it was for the disciples of Jesus in that last week before Jesus died on the cross. It's a week that we now call Holy Week, and today, Palm Sunday, is the start of that week, and it finishes next Sunday at Easter Sunday. It's a week of many ups and downs, a real rollercoaster journey for the followers of Jesus. It's a week when we see the disciples of Jesus at their very best, and we also see them at their very worst. We see Jesus at his most popular time, a time when he's praised and honoured. And within the same week, we also see him at his most despised and rejected. For the followers of Jesus, life was turned upside down that week. Everything they thought they knew was thrown into utter chaos, and no one quite knew what was going to happen next. It all started very well. On the day that we now call Palm Sunday, Jesus entered the city of Jerusalem, and crowds of people had lined the streets on that day, waving palm branches in the air and shouting, "Hosanna to the King," as though Jesus was the King. You see, it was just before the Jewish festival of Passover, a time when the Jews remembered their history and how God had rescued them from slavery in Egypt. And now they were under Roman rule, so things weren't quite the way that they wanted them. They weren't quite as free as they would have liked to have been. But the prophets had said that one day a rescuer would come, someone that would set them free. The prophets said, "See, your king comes to you, humble and riding on a donkey." Well, when Jesus entered Jerusalem, he came riding on a donkey. So it was an obvious sign, wasn't it, that this was the king they had been waiting for. This was the rescuer that would finally bring them true freedom. Who'd have thought that this carpenter from Nazareth would be the one to overthrow the Romans? But then again, Jesus had done some pretty amazing things. He was the talk of the whole city. So surely, if anyone could change things, Jesus could. So they cut palm branches from the trees around and they waved them in celebration and shouted, "Hosanna to the King." But on Palm Sunday in church, we normally give out palm leaves that are woven into the shape of a cross, like this one. We do this to remind us that that week things changed very rapidly. It was a real rollercoaster ride. That same crowd that had shouted praise for Jesus and hailed him as a king, in less than a week, those same people would be shouting for Jesus to be crucified. The disciples who had followed Jesus so loyally and so faithfully for years would scatter and deny that they even knew him. And Jesus himself, whose hands had done so much good and had healed so many people, his hands would not only be tied, but they would be nailed to a cross. A real rollercoaster week. But all of this was part of God's plan. See, it might not look like it, but God was still in control. He was still king of this situation, and everything was going according to the plan. A plan that was much bigger than bringing freedom from the Romans. A plan that will bring people freedom like only God can give. I'll talk about that more on Good Friday. But for now, may I wish you all a wonderful Palm Sunday and a very happy Easter. May God bless you all.